This is Mile High.
We have to do it better in order to move people along.
Up, down, inside out.
If you get your mind right,
it is not. It is a receiver of thought.
because love is my first technique.
It's now time for the show.
To the My Podcast is your host, Dr. Daniel Knowles. Thank you for joining us. And just want to remind everybody that whatever channel you are listening to this on, this is found around the world. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, we're on YouTube, on Facebook. The Mile High podcasts are being downloaded now in 35 different countries, so you can get this anywhere. And whatever channel you're listening to this on, please subscribe. And if you enjoy this particular episode or any of the episodes, please share the episodes with others so we can get the Mile High chiropractic movement message spread around the world. And also want you to mark your calendar in permanent ink for August 17th to 20th to join us on higher ground at Mile High, and it's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be the best year yet. People keep telling me how excited they are about the program. We want to see you there with your team. Always bring your team to programs so they can help lift you up when you come to Mile High. And I'm grateful to have on this episode Dr. Jessica Harden, who I've been following, and she's so involved in so many things, from AMPed to flight to research. It's going to be a very exciting interview with a lot of good information for people to use to help uplift them and their team in their practice. So welcome to the podcast, Dr. Jessica Harden.
Thank you, Dr. Knowles. I'm really glad to be here.
Well, we are glad to have you. And I was putting together your information for this episode, and I saw your favorite quote, and I love this. I actually hadn't heard this one before, but it's going to be one of my favorites. Do not let your fire go out. Spark by irreplaceable spark. The world you desire can be won. It exists. It's real. It's possible. It's yours. Ayn Rand. And I love when people quote Ayn Rand. Why do you like that quote?
You know, the reason I love it so much is because I feel it's so applicable to our profession right now. I mean, you know, you work with students too, and you work with doctors across the nation, and you've noticed that from student mentality to fast forward doctor mentality 10, 15 years, sometimes there's this transition that happens, and it's a completely different energy and dynamic. And, you know, and sometimes you speak to these docs that have been in practice for multiple years, and they lose that passion and that fire, and you have to take a step back and ask yourself this question, and that is, well, what happened? What happened? And the truth be told, it wasn't overnight. It was slowly over time. And I love this quote because it reminds you that A, it's within your power to make the world whatever you want it to be. You'll have the choice to do so, but also to be aware and cautious that it's not an overnight thing of how we transition from this excited student mentality to I'm just worn out in practice and I've lost my passion. So if we're constantly on guard and always saying, am I creating what I want to be? Am I creating this world that I want my kids to grow up in? You're going to continue to feel your passion. That's why I'm so excited to join you guys in Mile High come August, because you're capturing that energy, that mentality to create momentum for our profession to be able to feed into this next generation. And I think that's a very powerful thing that we all should live.
Absolutely. And we need to do that. Also have the span, because it doesn't expand. We lose. Well, we lose, but more importantly, the people that are lose some value, which is why we're doing that. Now, let people get to know you a little bit. How did you find your way into chiropractic?
Well, I didn't have a chiropractic testimonial. Actually, I had my entire world on track, a fast speed to actually nursing school. And it was a random conversation. I had someone randomly mention, why not looking to chiropractic? And it was, I am not joking, I looked up a couple of schools online, sent an application to see what would happen. I had 2 reps come to me talk about chiropractic, and I said, that sounds really cool. But the really amazing thing is I actually didn't get the chiropractic message until after I was in school, and then I was hooked from then. And, you know, and I find it was truly amazing because I kind of see it as a, you know, I'm a Christian, and I kind of see it as God kind of placed that in front of me. And I look back, and there is no way I could have seen myself as anything else but a chiropractor. And I think it's extremely powerful to kind of like, as the journey goes along, that I just keep falling more and more in love love with the kind of things that we're able to do and the impact we're able to make, that I'm just so thankful that some random person said, hey, why not chiropractic? So, and it's changed my life in ways I hadn't even imagined.
And of course we know that wasn't random.
True, that's right. That's right. It seemed random at the time, but it was definitely not random.
So, and that's like my mom. My mom's a chiropractor. A lot of people don't realize that. And she didn't know what chiropractor was till like 2 weeks before she graduated. It was like at the end, somebody connected her and she was like, oh, wow, this is what I've been studying all these years. So that can be how it is. Now, why do you like seeing sparks get fired up in students and doctors?
Because I know that if they get excited and passionate about their why, that it is going to impact those people that we care about, and that's our community and those that we serve on a continual basis. And if students and doctors don't have that passion, that excitement, then how can we be leaders in these individuals' lives? Because truth be told, everybody needs a guide, a leader, a coach, someone kind of walk that path with them. I feel that whenever it comes to any health decision, life decision you make, you kind of need a team, you need a circle of influence, you need a community. And that's one reason why I'm heavily involved in AMP, is to create that community, be able to serve alongside everybody. And I feel like it's really important to build your circle of influence no matter where it is, because that is what's going to propel you and dive that energy into those people that need you most. And that's really what it comes down to for a lot of us that serve in chiropractic.
Well, and people need community, and they
Yes.
can get around people that are like-minded and are doing things better than them, the things that they want to do, maybe a step above. It helps
Yes.
them stretch themselves. And without that, you tend to be like those that are around you. And if you can get just one step up, it helps you stretch that ability. And one of the things I noticed, and I actually didn't even notice this about you before I invited you to speak at Mile High. I was, Dr. Michael Viscarelli is my good friend, and I wanted to, and he recommended, hey, you got to talk to Jessica Harden, have her speak. She'd be awesome. So I just, fully, reached out to you based on how much, I respect Michael and his thing. And then I saw this paper come through that you had published with Dr. Matt McCoy's journal. Tell me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. It was a two-part paper. The first part was they were both looking at adolescent idiopathic scoliosis. And the reason the paper came about is actually Dr. Jimmy Galgano, who felt that there was some policy changes happening in New Jersey, and he was frustrated with the fact that they were trying to take chiropractic away from kids, saying it wasn't necessary or not helpful. That spun off a conversation with Dr. Mark Smith and Dr. Eric, and eventually myself in a vision where they examine results and its influence on that particular category of chiropractic cases. And the amazing thing that these studies portray for our profession and what it brings is because there are not a ton of studies that actually incorporate multiple cases and kind of do an overview look. There's a lot of individual case studies, but a case series that's not really very common. And if you look at scoliosis research, when you look at these mass studies, they are showing incremental amounts that it may help, but these are the first studies that were done as a case series that actually show, look what chiropractic can do, subluxation based, without bracing, without exercise, without some of these things that we talk about. Now, are those important? Absolutely, but just purely from a subluxation base, and that's the great value. And I really appreciate that we were able to publish with Dr. McCoy's journals, because talk about a gentleman that serves his profession for purely subluxation, because his whole journal, his whole philosophy is all about subluxation and proving its existence, its importance, and its value. That's the thing. It's value to our healthcare system. And so, we were really excited to, do this research and be able to partner with him to get this information out there, because, people need to know. They need to know how powerful chiropractic is, because that is a population that goes through the ringer of the entire healthcare system trying to approach just a structural standpoint. But we know there's way more to it from a functional standpoint. So it was really exciting to be able to partner with those doctors and be able to carry this study out.
And it's that just when people get diagnosed with things, scoliosis, and a handful of other related, they just really lost. There's nothing new about it, and not our objective is to change the scoliosis. Our objective is always to correct the
That's right.
subluxation. However, you know, that they just feel like there's no improvement. It's kind of one of those things, well, this is just the way it is, and it's going to be that way, and there's nothing that's going to move it in a different direction. So have that in the literature is huge, and that's why I don't know if you know this, but this year Mile High is contributing to the Foundation for Vertebral Subluxation Research. Every year we champion a different organization that we feel is paramount to the future of our profession, and this year it's the foundation. And we know that the work that McCoy Press does is so vital as well, and so the fact that you have that in there, I actually have a scoliosis paper in there as well that I published years ago, but we have to expand that literature base if chiropractic is going to have a leading position in the healthcare world, not just in our hearts, but you know, in the scientific literature. You know, we have to keep building that literature. So to see new doctors do that is incredible, and we've got to inspire more people to do that. And so hats off to you for doing that, and I'm very glad that also Dr. Galgano got involved with helping you out with that too. Now, with mentoring and teaching students, because when did you graduate? Where did you graduate from?
Life University in 2012.
Yeah, so 5 years, okay? So, and that first 5 years can be crucial for people in practice. It can be make or break, you know, because you know, and I know, that we've all seen people 5 years later and they're not practicing, unfortunately, and they're doing something else, and that's heart-wrenching, you know?
Yes.
So, why do you like helping mentor students and new docs?
You know, and there's two reasons for it. One, I get filled up because I get excited seeing their energy and their excitement, and it reminds me of what it was like when I was in school and how literally it was like the world was my canvas, right? You know, we all get in practice and sometimes we get bogged down by these little day-to-day things, and it just gives me a chance to come out of it and just say, man, this is amazing, look at the potential and the possibility. And so students help remind me of that too. But also the most important reason is I know that if I can feed into them, mentor, make them stronger than where I was even coming out of school, then I know they're going to go out and impact those lives that I will never have a chance to meet. But I know that I will impact that other community across the country, or, you know, and we never know how far reaching, you know, what we say, do, or think, you know, goes to those individuals. BJ Palmer said it. So that's why I am so invested in students, is to make sure that, you know, when they come out of school, they're stronger, they're mightier, they're more grounded in the principle. And, you know, truth be told, we need more people grounded in the principle. And if it's got to happen, you know, why not be me, you know? And that's why you know, and I think we all carry that mentality. You yourself, you know, you've run off Mile High, and you're, you know, reaching out to people across the country on a consistent basis. So, you know, it needs to be done.
Yeah, you know, you hear one more story of someone who practices and now they're bartending, and you're like, gee,
Yeah.
it's such a, so yeah, it's so sad, and you know that the ramification is that not just their life, but the lives that don't get touched in their community, and that's what's so important. Another thing is that I know you're very involved with female leadership within the profession. There's a program that you're involved with called Flight. We always at Mile High are very conscientious of making sure we have a very high percentage of female speakers, because we feel, unfortunately, that it gets male dominated in the presentation area too much in chiropractic. And actually, Sherman College attendance is now 49% female. Which is interesting. That's happening across the board. So we want to make sure that leaders, we grow up leaders in, you know, chiropractic female leaders. Tell us about Flight.
Yeah, and the reason Flight came about is, you know, you're right, there isn't a huge presence, and it's not that they're not out there. There are a lot of rock star females out there. It's just what's creating that that lack of presence. And, you know, I felt like Flight, which stands for Female Leaders Inspiring Greatness, Harmony, and Tenacity. And, you know, the reason I picked those three words is I truly feel Flight's mission is to try to create a community and mastermind of how to create harmony in a lady's life. And, you know, and it's not only just creating harmony, but how can you create harmony to fulfill your life purpose? Because success looks different for everybody, right? You know, you have a woman who wants to be an amazing mom, but also serve her community. You have some women who want to, you know, create amazing practices and, you know, maybe have just a husband. Everybody's life looks different. And so, I feel like a lot of times we get caught up as women. We talk about this word balance. And balance implies equal distribution to all aspects of life. And truth be told, that does not exist. Different seasons require different things. And sometimes you have to give and take the different things to make it all work in unison. But at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself this question, what is it that am I accomplishing? Am I fulfilling my life purpose? And if the answer is yes, then you do have perfect harmony. You do have the right aspects given the right attention. So, and truth be told, I feel like a lot of women in our profession, this is why this is so important right now. I get the impression that as our involvement becomes more and more, as you said, the enrollment is changing, it's even more important for us to tell women that it is possible. And there are a lot of times when I speak to students, they ask me this question. It's almost along the lines of, how hard is it to do this? Like, what are the challenges? And, it was on my heart, and this is one of the things, we actually kicked off this program last December. We only had 4 weeks to get the word out. We had a huge attendance online and also at the event. And one of the things I try to dispel, it's not hard to be a female profession, it's just different. And they're not the same thing. And
I like that.
When I put that out there, it was like light bulbs were going off, like she's right. And it goes for everybody because everybody's journey is different. It doesn't even just apply to women. So what I want Flight to accomplish is to be able to say, well, if it's different, how do we approach that? How does it look? What could it look like? What does success look like in different scenarios? And how can we mastermind ideas in order to create that? So we became an AMPed affiliate program. So working with, Dr. Jeremy and Dr. Michael are good friends of mine, and they have been full supporters because they recognize, like yourself, the need to uplift these women in our profession. And we are so excited for what's to come. The next conference we're going to do for Flight is actually going to be this coming December. Details are still, actually, we're going to share the link with Mile High on this podcast. So if you want to refer to the website, you can, for those listening in. But this December, we're going to launch the next one. Details will be posted soon. So, I'm excited for the potential possibility. And there's other programs, too, out there for women. You got the League of Chiropractic Women. And I know Dr. Wendy's got one. So there's so many people that are reaching out to these women. I just want ladies who are listening in on this call to know that, the opportunities out there are endless right now, and everybody's recognizing and stepping up to the plate to create a support system. So I think now this is a season for more opportunity for females than ever before as we're growing into this and recognizing it even more. So I'm excited to be a part of that.
I love that. It's not harder, it's just different. That is awesome. And we will put, so people don't have to worry about writing something down if they're listening to this driving. Like, we're going to have it all in the blog post. We'll have the link so people can go to that for the show notes, which will be helpful and make sure people know more about that. And I'm glad you'll talk about that Mile High too, to connect people to that too. So if we let's go on that just a little bit more. What would be some keys or important things that you feel from starting with Flight and talking to women it's important for them to know getting into practice or getting started?
Yeah, and that's a really good question. I feel that going into practice, women should know that it does take work, and it does take determination and willpower, and those are aspects that I feel a lot of women embody. We're good multitaskers. We already are able to accomplish a lot of things in a short period of time. So I think the biggest thing is for women is to, we tend to beat ourselves up comparing one another to each other, and I feel that can be very dangerous. And so one of the first things I would tell to, ladies that are, my gals who are students before they go on practice is get your mind in check and focus on being the best version of yourself. Don't look at what everybody else is doing and saying, well, why am I not here? Or why have I not accomplished this yet? Because truth be told, it's not your journey. You don't have that person's journey. Your journey is unique and different. So first get your mindset in check, making sure that you own your mindset, that you have control of it, and that you have a funnel that you're constantly having drip into your life to motivate you and make you powerful too. And then at the end of the day, we tend, there's a lot of ladies out there who just want to be servants and just give and give and give. And the second thing I would say is just make sure that you get filled up and that you're fulfilling what you want to accomplish, right? There's a lot of times we can, give and give and give, and then we run it out, and then we're, without energy. And you can't serve if you aren't filled up too. So making sure that you have the connections and community and resources you need to be able to continually be filled up so that you can serve and then grow into your best version of yourself. Those would be the two biggest things I would stress to women too as well. And then just remembering that, it's possible. I will never forget, and I have to share this story. I remember I was in outpatient clinic, and I was taking over. I was seeing a patient for a friend of mine who had to go out of town. And this lady, first thing she said to me, she goes, "I feel sorry for you ladies here at this school." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Well, with family and practice, you guys are just never going to be able to do it." And it took all my energy not to be like, maybe I'm going to give this lady a subluxation today. I was floored by that statement. And, I think back on that and I'm like, how have we told ourselves this lie? Because I think, and that comes from the fact that what we define success is and what we define what family commitment should be, and we have these preconceived notions of what that should be, but really it's different for everybody. So it's really asking yourself the questions, what does that look like for you? And I really think we all need to take a step back and reflect on that. So.
Wow, I'm getting more excited about you presenting at Mile High. Between having your hands in research, having your hands in mentoring students, and helping women be leaders in the profession, this is going to be stellar to have you out there. So also, when you see people come out of school and they go to open up their practice, what are some of the sticking points that you see they need to shift or do better in so they really launch well?
So I do a lot of accountability calls with docs and, speaking with other students as well. And the two biggest things, I touched on mindset. Positivity is definitely something that people get beat up about. Like they're like excited because they're fresh out of school. They're excited to start correcting subluxation. And then they start figuring out, oh gosh, I've got to do this for business purposes. I got to do this. I got to market. I got to network. I got to do all these things. And then slowly their mind starts to say, they hit some barriers and then they say, well, maybe I can't do it. Right. So I firmly believe that you have to get grounded in making sure that you keep telling yourself it is possible and that you're going to dig it out. Discipline's a big one too. There are some days that are very, very long and, it can get draining. And so, just making sure that you're digging in and doing the appropriate steps. Preparation's big. I have a lot of students that are in school and they're like, man, I'm just too busy. I got to study for this. I can't go to this conference this weekend. And I'm like, you can't afford not to do those things because truth be told, you're paying for this amazing education to learn how to take care of people. But if you don't prepare to open it even goes for associates. A lot of people think, oh, well, if I'm not, going to open my own practice, I'm just going to associate and I don't have to prepare for that. And that couldn't be further from the truth. You've got to make sure that, you're constantly learning how to go about doing these different business aspects because the schools aren't responsible for that. And I will end on this note. I think a lot of people have this idea too as well that, oh, well, I'll just figure it out when I get there. And here's the problem with that. You won't know how to communicate chiropractic, which, by the way, that is the number one thing that a lot of amazing chiropractors yell at. Guys who just may have a result, they can't speak at the principle of practice. And you know what with that? Practice members don't, and their practice never take off. And that is a shame because that means that they miss opportunity to serve other people too as well. And I think that when it's communication and telling the story about what subluxation is and what it does to our health, if you can't communicate that on an understandable level, you've just missed a whole field of people that desperately do need your help because you can't develop rapport and trust without communication. And I feel that a lot of students don't understand that quite yet sometimes.
Yeah, and I see that all the time. And here's the thing, like, sure, what you learn in the classroom and how you do in the classroom is vital, but
Yes.
What you learn outside the classroom is just as, if not more important. I always tell students, every single program you can get to before you graduate, you go to. And you'll start to find your niche in your community and your technique, etc., by doing that. However, if not, you just think you're going to start doing it when you graduate, you're in big trouble, especially because programs cost 10 times more after you graduate than when you're a student, so you might as well take that savings too, and then you get a head start. Because you see people, and you're right, they could be great adjusters, but if they can't communicate, they can't run a business, they can't run some promotions and have be able to put all those different hats on we do put on as chiropractors, they're in trouble.
Yes, absolutely. And then who loses? Who loses in that equation?
Yeah.
The people they're trying to serve.
Right.
I mean, it's not even that, yeah, the doctor could always find some other line of work, granted, like a bartender, like you mentioned before, but the people who really suffer from that is those people that you could have been taking care of.
Right, and then we don't have as a profession more impact. So that's one of the things that I love about all the things that you're doing is you're helping uplift others. And that's what we're doing with Mile High, is like we're putting energy into uplifting others and creating a community in here. Last night we had an incredible Mile High philosophy night. I always tell people, if you're in Colorado, the third Thursday of every month, we have philosophy. And we had somebody that was in town from Italy last night, so we had our first international person at our philosophy night. And so every time you're visiting, I know same thing with AMP and place, just get around other people so when those opportunities arise, so that way you can get plugged in, and so you can also help others too as well. So any last things that you want to share at this moment?
Honestly, I'm just excited to join you guys at Mile High coming up in August. I love Colorado. Y'all couldn't have a more beautiful background setting for this conference, I'm just saying. I'm excited to get to, I honestly, I think it's a huge honor and privilege to share the stage with some of these amazing docs that are movers and shakers in our profession, and I'm excited to be able to share the stage with them. And most importantly, I'm excited to be, a part of that, that opportunity with you guys.
And I'm going to give you the same advice I give everybody else. If you come out to Colorado, it is an amazing backdrop. Don't just fly in just before the program and go to the hotel. Get a day in there so you can see some scenery, because either before or after, because Colorado is worth that extra day, and it's part of practice is that taking care of yourself, right? So
yes.
Get out for a hike and take your team. When you go to somewhere, take your team and take them out to dinner or do something. Go for a hike with your team. They will love getting that camaraderie time outside of it. So you've got to do things like that. I know you tell people to do things like that in practice, or go to a spa or something out here. There's so much stuff. So especially people always think snow, but Colorado in August is amazing. It's just a beautiful time to be here. So look forward to you being out here. And thank you for doing all that you're doing in chiropractic in so many different areas. We need more people to step up in the ways that you have in terms of research and mentoring. And then you practice too. So
yes.
But that's what we need. We need people to do that. So thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you in August. Thank you for everything that you're doing. And thank you for tuning in to the Mile High podcast. And remember, whatever channel you're listening to this on, hit subscribe. And we look forward to you joining us August 17th to 20th out in the Mile High State. And I'll also say prices for registration are going to rise in April 15th. So before then, I highly recommend registering, so that way you can save on that too. And we look forward to seeing everybody out in Colorado. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Harden.
Absolutely.
Like our page on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Mile High Chiro.